Officials believe the gunman accused of the mass shooting in Buffalo was inspired by the white replacement conspiracy theory. Now, this is a baseless belief that white people are being slowly but intentionally replaced by minorities and immigrants.
The concept was once a fringe theory, but now it's embraced by many Republican lawmakers and Fox hosts. CNN's Sunland Serfati explains.
What was once a fringe white supremacist conspiracy theory has now become mainstream.
Jews will not replace us!
We know what the Democrats are up to here. They want open borders. This is exactly their strategy. They want to replace the American electorate.
With a growing number of Republican lawmakers now openly promoting the far-right so-called Great Replacement theory.
For many Americans, what seems to be happening, or what they believe right now is happening, is what appears to them is we're replacing national-born American, native-born Americans to permanently transform the political landscape of this very nation.
The racist anti-immigrant theory that says non-white immigrants are being brought to replace America's white population.
This administration wants complete open borders, and you have to ask yourself why. Is it really they want to remake the demographics of America?
Democrat politicians who have decided that they can't win re-election in 2022 unless they bring in a large number of new voters to replace the voters that are already here. That's what this is about.
The white nationalist conspiracy theory is detailed in French writer Renaud Camus' 2011 book called The Great Replacement. And elements of replacement theory appear to have motivated some of the most heinous recent mass murders in the U.S. and around the world. Just this weekend, an 18-year-old man accused of shooting and killing 10 people in a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, allegedly wrote a manifesto online claiming ethnic and cultural replacement of whites. The gunman, accused of killing more than 20 people at an El Paso Walmart in 2019, allegedly uploaded a document on the internet before the shooting, saying, quote, "This attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas. They are the instigators, not me. I am simply defending my country from cultural and ethnic replacement brought on by the invasion." The man, who allegedly killed 11 people at a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018, spouted nonsense on social media about Jewish people being somehow responsible for immigrant, quote, invaders. And the shooter, who killed 51 people at a mosque and Islamic center in Christchurch, New Zealand, named his own manifesto the Great Replacement. The theory has been amplified by voices on Fox News.
I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question. I have less political power because they're importing a brand new electorate. Why should I sit back and take that?
And openly defended by name by sitting members of Congress.
Thanks to Sunland Serfati for that. And CNN has followed up with a few of those Republicans. For more clarification, we have not heard back.
All right, Scott Jennings is a former special assistant to President George W. Bush and a CNN political commentator. Errol Lewis is also a CNN political commentator. Gentlemen, welcome back. Scott, let me start with you. We saw J.D. Vance, the Ohio Republican Senate nominee, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin there. We just showed the Matt Gaetz tweet. Why isn't Republican leadership in Congress speaking out more about this, against this theory that we're hearing so much about?
Well, I think that they are, if they were sitting here, they'd probably say that there's a conflation going on between the racist, nonsense that this shooter supposedly believed in, which is that, Jewish leaders are, orchestrating some behind the scenes replacement, versus open borders or illegal immigration debate. That's what they would say. The reality is what everyone should say today, Republican, and I'll speak for my side, is that this theory is crazy, it is psychotic, it is racist, and it can infect people. That's not to blame anyone. I don't know if this guy could pick Tucker Carlson out of a lineup. He seems like a crazy person to me. But there's only one thing to say on a day like today, and that is to denounce hate, to denounce racism, and to denounce anybody who fans these flames. And Victor, I heard, just if I might for a moment, I heard what you said a few moments ago about these things devolving into political debates and nothing ever happens. And I thought it was an incredibly powerful statement. And I think the correct political posture today is to say denouncing hate is what we should be doing today, and not allowing ourselves to get stuck in the mud is what we should be focused on tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, Errol, of course, Scott's right to denounce hate, but Tucker Carlson has a big platform, and many nights he talks about the white replacement theory. He's very worried about being replaced, apparently. He's a big purveyor of this. How much do you think that has allowed it to permeate mainstream politics?
Well, I mean, that is the function of a Tucker Carlson, is he takes these odious fringe ideas and he imports them into the mainstream. And he always, does it with like the sort of the cutesy, oh, I'm just asking questions, I'm just wondering, or, my vote is being diluted and so forth. And it stacks one lie on top of another, and that's, of course, what a conspiracy theory is one lie stacked on top of another, playing to the worst instincts. Media leadership, just like political leadership, requires an element of responsibility, of taking seriously one's obligation to tell the truth and to speak the truth, even if it's not politically convenient, even if it loses you a few viewers, even if it costs you a couple of ratings points. Not everybody believes that, though. What they do is they sort of play to the worst instincts of humanity for a momentary gain. It's folly on one level. It's despicable as far as the outcome, and the outcome is now here for all of us to see. There's a reason that the word demagogue is an ancient word. This is a problem of human nature. People with a lot of power, with a platform, with a voice, using it for all of the worst reasons.
Scott, you said that today is the day to condemn hate, and you're right. It is the day to do that. But what's the day that we talk about how to stop doing this? Often when we have conversations with Republicans and Democrats in many respects, the day after, it's like today is not the day for that. Specifically on the question of guns in this country, now is a time to support the community, we hear. But what's the day that we talk about how to stop this legislatively?
Yeah, as I've been sifting through the news stories about this particular shooter, and I think there's a lot we don't know about this person yet. One of the things that just continues to jump out at me, Victor, is the fact that apparently and allegedly, I guess, according to the reporting, he had made some noise last year about being violent at school, shooting up a school, and that people knew about this, that there were notifications about this. And we talked about this a few years ago. The idea that if someone makes a specific threat, a violent threat, that somehow that could get taken into account as we monitor their future behavior. And the fact that this person, obviously that just fell right through the cracks. To me, if I were in a position of authority, that's where I'd be trying to figure something out, is how can somebody go from possibly engaging in a school shooting to obviously engaging in an actual shooting just a few months later, and it was never followed up on. That's what I want to know more about, because it strikes me that's the fastest and most obvious thing to look at as you're trying to prevent these kinds of things from happening in the future.
Well, here again, I mean, obviously, it's just common sense. It makes such sense if you have threatened your school with, I think the police called it a murder-suicide plot, that should be flagged somewhere, Errol. But this guy passed a background check, this 18-year-old. The gun shop owner sold him the gun, as far as we know, legally, because somehow that's not in an important database.
That's right. It's not a small tweak that's needed. It's really a reconceptualization of all of this. We have 21st century communications technology, 21st century weapons, like apparently some of the weaponry that was used. He could live stream it at the same time globally, which is an amazing amount of technology. And we have we have 19th century laws and traditions and policies. We've got to this is what leadership requires. We've got to make a match between what it is we want and the enormous power that we give to all of our citizens, including those who are evil or demented or misguided or calling out for help, frankly. We blew it this time. And there needs to be something other than the usual thoughts and hearts and prayers or whatever it might be. We've got to sort of do some serious governing, some serious legislating to try and fix this problem before it happens again.
Yeah, tragically, we blow it a lot. Errol Lewis, thank you very much. Scott Jennings, thanks so much. We really appreciate you both.